good Monday evening on Twister Talk. I'm Gary. Thanks for joining me. A drought has been broken. Surprisingly, we'll go take a look at that in a moment. However, right now we're going to go all the way across the world to Nepal and Mount Everest. Rescuers were helping hundreds of hikers trapped by heavy snow at tourist campsites along the slope of Mount Everest in Tibet, Chinese state media said. About 350 hikers had reached a meeting point in Tindri County, and rescuers were in contact with another 200, state broadcaster CCTV said late Sunday. As of Monday evening here, there's been no immediate update on the rescue efforts. Hikers were trapped at an elevation of more than 16,000 feet, according to an early report from Jimu News. That's a Chinese online news site. Now, Mount Everest is about 29,000 feet plus at its summit. A hiker who rushed to descend before the snow blocked the way told Jimu News that others still on the mountain had told him the snow was 3 feet deep and had crushed tents. Now, hundreds of rescuers headed up the mountain Sunday to clear paths so trapped people could start to come down, the Jimu report continued. A video shot by a villager showed a long line of people with horses and oxen moving up a winding path in the snow. Now, the snowstorm struck during a week-long national holiday in China when many traveled home and abroad. In another mountainous region in western China, one hiker died of hypothermia and altitude sickness, and 137 others were evacuated in the north port of Qinghai province, CCTV said Monday. The search is in an area of Minyun country with an average altitude of more than 13,000 feet. It was complicated by terrain, unpredictable weather, and continuous snowfall, CCTV said online. Now, a strong earthquake had killed at least 126 people in that same area back in January. The Chinese side of Everest is in Tibet, a remote western region where the government had cracked down harshly on dissent and poured in funds for economic development, including roads and tourism. Again, this snowstorm in October, usually it's for Everest is mild. Usually not a lot of precipitation, and the temperatures are livable. Now remember, though, once you get about 15,000 feet and you're starting in for the summit, the oxygen starts getting thinner. You're going to rely on taking oxygen tanks with you so you can breathe normally. Otherwise, you can get, that sickness they talk about. Yeah, I'm sorry that you get sometimes. Can't remember. The deprivation can cause all kinds of mental and physical issues. Again, there's still over 200 people trapped up there. No word right now from any media sources if they're being rescued or if they've been able to even reach them. Again, snow is continuing as I speak tonight in that area, and will continue probably at least for another couple of days, and it could be sometime later in the week before they get most of those people down. As of right now, no deaths have been reported. That may change. We really don't know yet. Unfortunately, it being Chinese news, you're not going to hear a lot reporting. They keep things very quiet there, so anything we hear from either the AP or other services may get filtered through the Chinese News and Information Service. I'll have to wait and see. Either way, it could be a very tragic event, and there are, like I said, over 200 people still stuck on the mountain. Now we're going to head back to the U.S., and something historic happened on June 20th, all the way back in June. The first EF5 tornado since 2013 has been confirmed in North Dakota. The EF5 tornado killed 3 in North Dakota and was the nation's first in 12 years. This tornado, which knocked a train off its tracks, ended the 12-year drought of EF5 tornadoes since the Moore, Oklahoma one in 2013. Being a mile wide when the tornado threw Enderlin, North Dakota on June 20th, it killed 3 people and tossed train cars 475 feet. It was the strongest U.S. twister in more than a decade. The unusually high forensic damage wind speed estimates came from the twister tipping fully loaded grain hopper cars from a train and tossing one empty tanker 500 feet, the National Weather Service said. Trees were also uprooted, and other trees left standing only had stubs of trunks and were totally debarked. A local farmstead was swept clean off its foundation. In the last 12 years, there's been several strong tornadoes that have come close, but there haven't been known damage indicators at the time to support the EF5 rating, said Melinda Behrens, meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service in Grand Forks, North Dakota. The June 20th twister near the town of Enderlin killed 3 people, and it was largest 1.05 miles wide, carving a path across the prairie for just over 12 miles. Now, meteorologists from the National Weather Service in Grand Forks estimated the tornado's winds, which reached 210 miles an hour, according to newly released analysts. Now, remember, they originally classified this as an EF3 back in June, but some of the storm people that were checking that were not convinced of that lower rating, and they kind of pressed things more and took a look at what was happening there. And we obviously now realize that tossing that empty tank car 500 feet and blowing these fully loaded grain cars over and all kinds of damage to farmsteads and trees and everything else indicates winds in some places were at least 210 miles an hour. Now, remember, the Bridge Creek, Oklahoma tornado holds the record of the strongest winds ever recorded in the U.S. That's the 1999 one. Remember that one back in May? Doppler radar, Josh Warman's Doppler radar estimated wind speeds at 300 feet above the ground at 321 miles an hour. Now, the morning after the EF5 tornado in North Dakota, meteorologists from the Grand Forks office headed into the field to assess damage. They said how the twisted, uprooted trees, tipped over fully loaded rail cars, toppled transmission towers, and destroyed farmsteads, including one that had its foundation swept clean with just the basement remaining. The city of Enderlin, other than losing power, pretty much went unscathed, said Mayor Dion Maceo. 2 men and a woman were killed in 2 locations east of town, which is about 40 miles southwest of Fargo. Determining a tornado's strength usually takes days or weeks as meteorologists study the damage to buildings and trees. This one did take much longer because of the unusual damage to rail cars, including, again, the one that was hurled over 500 feet. Initially, it was rated as an EF3, but they went back and took a look and weren't convinced of that EF3 damage, that it wasn't worse. And of course, now they've been checking everything and proving, yes, it was much worse. EF5 tornado winds of about 210 miles an hour. So that's the first one since 2013 in Oklahoma. Remember that one? And of course, the next week, the El Reno tornado, which is rated at an EF3 because even though it had EF5 winds, EF3 winds occurred in the area of damage near Oklahoma, and that was about it. That's all they could gain from that. We've talked about that in the past. Different kinds of criteria go in different parts of the country. They'll say, no, it's all the same, but there's a little difference here and there, a lot different. So, again, the first EF5 since 2013 in all places in North Dakota, which usually doesn't get many strong tornadoes, of course. Remember the Fargo one back in many, many years ago, back in 1957. That was an F5 tornado, and damage paths showed that. There's a weird thing, though, about this tornado in Enderlin, North Dakota. It started from the southwest, moved toward Enderlin, basically between Sheldon and Enderlin, cut a path there. Didn't really go right through downtown Enderlin. But here's the thing. It started coming from the southwest and northeast, then shifted more to the north. And then it curved to the northwest. And before it lifted, it was actually going south. Again, June 20th. 2025, it touched down 11:02 p.m., lifted at 11:21 p.m., and the peak winds again about 210 miles an hour. 12.1 miles is the length of the path. That's it. So, very unusual weather situation that night with that tornado, but the conditions came together just in that one area, produced a very monster tornado. Again, you tell the steering winds in the atmosphere were not that strong because this supercell was able to kind of curve to the north, curve to the northwest, and come back south before the tornado lifted. And of course, that's what we have with the radar track shows the same thing. The supercell just kind of meanders and, like Brandon says, meanders and turns, and not strong steering currents, but enough humidity, enough wind shear in the lower levels to kick that thing off. So weather does its own thing, no matter what we think we know about it, and each day we kind of reminding ourselves that we know a lot less than we think we do. So that's where we are with that. And that's where we are with Twister Talk. I'm Gary. Thanks for joining me. And we'll talk more about this Enderlin tornado in an upcoming show, and even more about what's happening in Mount Everest. You have a good evening. Thanks for listening.